do, and I actually, in high school, you know, I was swearing because everybody else at school was swearing. You know, you think you're cool, you think this is all right. It's not all right. Sinning is a sin. You know, if you sin once, you're a sinner. If you have foul language, that's a sin. If I have a perverse mind, if I lust, I have a perverse mind, which is an abomination of the Lord. Now, first of all, what you want to know is that it's only through the Holy Spirit that He can renew your mind and change your heart to be like Him. I couldn't even stop swearing on my own strength. I couldn't stop lusting in my own strength. I couldn't stop hating people. You know what hatred is? When you hate someone in your own heart, you've killed them. You know what that means? I'm a murderer. I've lied once, I've stolen once, I'm a liar, I'm a thief, I have a perverse mind, and I've killed people. Well, I need forgiveness, and God can only come into your heart and clean up the dirtiness where you let Him in. And don't come to God and just thank Him for, you know, what you hope He's going to do as far as your circumstances. Thank Him for who He is and what He's done. There is no greater miracle for you to receive right now than the life and hope of Jesus Christ, not your circumstance.
Why do people try to fix their life before they give their life to the Lord? Why do they say, let me fix my financial situation? Once my financial situation is all down packed, everything, my bills are paid, everything's perfect. Yeah. Now let me go to my relationship, you know, the relationships in my life. Let me go perfect those, and then let me go to this area and that area. Right. Finally, everything's connected. Makes sense. Then I'll introduce God to my life.
Then if you have everything in order, and everything makes sense, then you don't need God, right? That's the thing, is like you think that putting these pieces in their place are going to give you peace. They're not. They're not. The job, getting married, having kids, and this, it's not going to give you what you think it's going to give you. It ain't going to give you peace. Being married ain't going to make you happy. If you ain't happy single, you're not going to be happy married. You got to understand that you know, when we think we need to even fix ourselves before we come to God, that's just how we know that we get rewards when we're good.
Yeah.
But not in the sight of God. Yes, when we do good things for Him and in obedience for Him, He's going to reward us in heaven. Yeah. But our rewards are not here on this earth, because these treasures and everything here, they're all going to fade. You know, I'm the richest man alive because I've got peace and I've got joy and God is by my side. That's what you need. You need God by your side. Life is always going to be an uphill climb. As a teenager, you think life's going to get easier when you go to college. It's not. Life's going to get easier when you get married. It's not. Life's going to get easier when you have kids. Nope. It's always an uphill climb. The higher you climb, the more you see. But when I feel like falling, I know the one who's standing by me.
How many people have you met, do you think, in all of your traveling around the world?
As in one-to-one? Like hugging? I've hugged 350,000 people, approximately. But about 3.5 million people face-to-face I've spoken to.
Okay, and then when you go on your, just a little side comment before we take our next call, problem. As far as your ministry, when you travel, you have crusades, or what do you do? Do you do it at one-on-one things? Do you do more like masses when you go and train pastors? I know that you train pastors. On his website, by the way, you have a lot of video footage. When you went to India, you had a pastor's training, and you have a lot of these types of events. So are they more on a larger scale, or do you do one-on-one too?
I don't officially train pastors. I encourage all people, you know, wherever they're at, no matter how far away from God they are, I like to encourage people. So if I can go to, you know, places where I cannot necessarily preach, I go there in whatever setting that is, and then, you know, let them ask questions. But as far as what we do, what our mission is, we just encourage all people to love God and come closer to their faith in God. I think I missed your question. Repeat one more time.
Sure. When you travel worldwide, you go to Africa, you go to India, you go to Colombia, you have a lot of video on, you have, I mean, tens of thousands.
Oh, how do we go out there and what do we do? Yeah, gotcha. Sorry, I'm so sorry. You know, we have now 29,000 people who've emailed us, our organization, for me to go to their city or their country for me to speak, and obviously I can't go to 29,000. And I'm actually trying to use our website, lifewithoutlimbs.org, more and more and more to start encouraging people so I don't have to travel so much. you know, around the globe, and we want to speak to like media. Like this is awesome. 100,000 people. It's like being in a stadium now of 100,000. You know, this is great. You know, people feel like I'm in your own home. You know,
as long as they zoom that camera.
As long as they zoom in, right? No, it's all good. It's all good. Only when I talk to them, it's okay. I love you. It's great, you know, with media, millions of people watch. Like we were just in Mexico. We just came from, anyone from Mexico watching maybe? Hello, hola. We were in Mexico for about a week. We went to Mexicali and then Mexico City, and we were speaking to millions of people in the media. So what our heart is to reach as many people as possible. We don't like, you know, different terms. What we want is outreaches, you know, just to outreach to people and reach out to people through our outreaches. And whether it's teenagers or business people or this or that, you know, where we can preach, we do preach through the ministry of Life Without Limbs.
Yeah. Cool. Well, with that, let's take our next caller. We have Sandy on air with us. Welcome to the show, Sandy.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, how are you, hon? How are you, both of you?
Good.
Nick, I just want to take this time out to say how much I admire you. I was born in, well, actually raised in this country. I'm, you know, my family is Aramaic speaking, and I was very gifted with that, and I think I felt blessed. But the point, there's actually no point behind, you know, being somebody who is blessed to speak the Aramaic language, and you know, not take that purpose and do something about it. I just, you know, last year this time I got second and third degree burns all over my body, and it was a very hard time for me. And I think God has said that the ones He loves, He puts you through enormous amounts of testing for your faith. And you know, I grew up here, and I was very like probably you said, I was one of the girls who was cool, and you know, who liked to dress up, put makeup on my face. You know, I you know, there was that time, and I went through a time where I didn't appreciate what God had given me, and I felt behind in everything, in my faith, in everything. When I got my burn, I woke up that day in the hospital, and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? You know, I really, what did I do wrong that God would do this to me? And I didn't blame myself. And I asked, you know, what was it? Why did I, you know, is this a test? Is this, you know, some sort of, you know, an inquisition that I have to go through this process of healing? And I realized when I was healing physically, I was healing out from inside as well. And I realized at that moment my faith had been great all along, and it became greater. And at first I was angry, and I think we all go through phases when we are physically hurt. We go through phases where, you know, we are angry, and you know, I didn't understand why and what I did wrong. I always thought I was a good Christian. I was always giving. I worked with children with special needs. I grew up. I was a theater actress. I was very blessed in my life. And when I went through that stage where I didn't appreciate that, God woke me up. And He said, you know what? I have given you everything. You know, what is it what else do you want? And that's how I felt in the hospital. And I stayed there for a month. And, you know, all that, I had to learn how to walk again. You know, it was a very physically, but I realized my soul was the one that needed more, you know, purifying, more, you know, that I should say, you know, that moment in my life where my soul had awakened and said to myself, you know what, you know, this is the time for you to, you know, go out and be the best you can be with what I have given you. And, you know, I'm still healing, thank God. And every day I pray that my life could have been, you know, taken, you know, that day. And seriously, it was a situation where, you know, I could have never woken up that day. And that's one thing. I wake up, and I woke up and I realized there were so many people around me who loved me and, you know, wanted me to, you know, be the best that I could. And I thank God, because right now when I'm standing here talking to you, I have so much love in my heart, more than I did before I had those burns. And I just wanted to say, Nick, there is so much admiration I have in you, just because, words can't describe it. For me, for someone who, like I said, grew up in this country, who was given everything, who was, it didn't matter with the material things. Your heart is so full of love. And I always live by this. Never fear the one who kills your body, but the one who kills your soul. And, I'm very grateful for what you do and the love and joy that you spread. And I appreciate that. I'm sorry if my story was a little bit off.
No.
But I just, had to share that and tell you it's not, God wakes you up. There are moments in your life God wakes you up and makes you realize, He loves you. And He is putting you through tests so you can overcome, the worst obstacles in His. Because, when I was there, one of the nurses asked me, she said, why aren't, I've realized that you're one of these patients here who isn't crying. And I said to her, you know what, no matter what I went through right now, it's not worse than what my Father in heaven went through for me. And I think, we should all live by that. We think everything's hard, life is terrible, but we always have to remember, no matter what we are going through, it's not as bad as what Jesus Christ, our Holy Father in heaven, has gone through for us.
Well, thank you so much for calling, Sister Sandy. Sorry to interrupt you. We have a lot of calls coming in, so we want to give everybody an opportunity to call in, but we thank you so much for calling in to share your story. Did you want to comment on what she had to say?
Absolutely. I just want to thank you so much for your encouraging words. And, I could never imagine what you've gone through. And having something, then losing it is worse than, being born without arms and legs. I believe, but you're right. It is nothing like what Jesus Christ did for you and me on the cross. And just want to thank you for your kind words and kind encouragement, and thank God for everything that He has given you, and the hope and the faith that you have. I thank God for that, and I thank God for the opportunity for you to be able to share that to encourage everybody else who's also watching.
Thank you. Well, with that, let's take our next caller. We have Samantha. Hi, Samantha. Welcome to the show.
Hi. For Nick, I just want to say something really quick. I'm so grateful, and it's so amazing what you're doing right now. And if I didn't know you and I just saw you somewhere, I would think, oh, I feel bad for this person. But really, you have way more faith and happiness than any regular other person would probably have. And I think this experience probably brought you a lot more closer to God than a lot of people who experience in their lives. So thanks for what you're doing, and God bless you, because it's truly amazing.
God bless you. I love you. Thanks for calling, and thanks for encouragement. Love you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. The caller before had mentioned feelings of guilt and anger. Is that normal for somebody to be feeling feelings of guilt and anger if they're going through something difficult, or does that mean that they are weak and they need to maybe depend on the Lord?
There are people. Let's say I use this because it just happened this week. Where if a 14-year-old girl comes up to me and says, I've been raped by my grandfather or my father or my uncle or my cousin or a stranger, I've never been in that position, okay? So I don't know where that guilt would come from. We know that's from Satan. We know as far as, that's your fault. Or there's something dirty inside of us and we feel like it's our fault. Or the people who hurt us make us feel like it was our fault or something like that. There's different types of guilt here that you can have as well. So I always think of, different perspectives, from different people's lives. But as far as, anger, how can you really forgive somebody, who's killed your son? How can you really, That's the daily struggle. That's the daily